Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show.
This is my podcast. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Is it special? You decide. What's good about it? I don't quite know yet. You've taken a leap. Maybe you're here because you heard me promoting it. Maybe you were just trolling the Apple Podcast app and you saw my picture and said, well, that looks like it could be a mess. I'd like to view that. I'd like to hear what kind of hijinks he's up to. I don't know, guys. This is it. This is a new thing. This is fresh. I don't have to be anyone but myself. And this is what I like. I like interesting people. I like people who have had different experiences to mine. And I like the ability in which to have them one-on-one, asking them questions and doing the deep dive to exactly what I'm interested in. So I hope what I find interesting is interesting to you as well. And there may be a celebrity or two on here. There might be some friends of mine. There might be some enemies. Why not? I'm not afraid of confrontation. But inevitably, it's all going to be people who I want to spend an hour with and hear more about their life. So, this is John Stamos. You know who he is. Don't act like you don't. I don't know who you think you are, but he's John Stamos. You probably grew up with him. You probably find him handsome. And you probably want to hear about his life and the things that he's interested in. So we made a TV show together 2 years ago called Grandfathered that got canceled. But what a run it was. 22 episodes of pure bliss and joy. And in this business, you don't really stay friends with people. It's kind of like summer camp relationships. It's incredible while it's happening, and then you say goodbye and see each other in passing 18 months later and just give each other a nod at your local coffee bean. But Stamos and I have stayed friends, and I really love the guy. He's good people. We have had a lasting effect on each other's lives, and I never would have expected to call him a friend and a confidant, but I can say that confidently. So here he is, John Stamos. Test. Give me a little more.
Testies 1, 2, test.
Gorgeous.
Let me see, maybe. How's that? Was that better?
Yeah, it's
A
great.
boom, 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 boom.
1, 2, 1, 2.
So,
This is it. This is us.
I had a friend who died recently, and it was really awakening, isn't it? Like,
Out of nowhere?
yeah, but it was a guy who was my hero, and he was like he was an ordinary hero, and I just admired him so much, but he lost it the last few years.
Yeah.
So I've just been in the process of trying to remember the good guy. This is no good for a podcast.
This is great.
Let's start it.
This is
This
interesting.
starting?
Yeah, we've been starting. You brought it up. So what do you think about death? I mean, we all think about it.
I always thought I didn't, how would I say this humbly? I think that like I've had an issue with, sort of looking young and feeling
Sure.
young, and, when you think you're, invincible and you're going to live forever, and, we're not. So, I mean, it always sounds right to go like, look, who knows how long we're going to be here, enjoy every minute, enjoy every day. But I've really been trying to do that.
Right. And how's that going?
Good.
Yeah?
Well, you have to remind yourself all the time, right?
I mean, you seem unencumbered. You seem pretty free.
And that's when stuff happens, I think. And it has to be organic. You go, I'm acting free. Where's my, it's my turn.
I'm ready now.
Yeah, I'm ready. You have to really, and that's when the world sees that, like, okay, he's not trying too hard or doesn't want something so bad, and you have to really believe it. But it's taken 50, I'm 54. But I couldn't do it if I didn't straighten my life out a few years ago, and you were very instrumental in that.
Well, I think we got lucky enough to be in each other's lives at a certain time where we both were sort of open to, I don't know, it's lost on me at this point because we've actually become friends. Sort of what it means that you are who you are, and the world knows and loves you, and you're revered, and I'm unaware of it now because we actually have this shorthand and I have this true love for you. But I do know that, like, I've got friends who, if I bring up a story about my buddy Len or Brian, they couldn't give a shit. But all of a sudden when I'm like, oh, my friend John and I the other day, they sort of lean in. They're like, ooh, what were you and John up to? So but I've
There's a new, there's, there's just a new clarity for all that for me. It's weird.
yeah.
I feel like I just became famous or something, and it's like, you know, I don't know. I think you and I talk about this. You get to a place for me, like I'm super clear and super present now, and sober and all that. And sometimes you feel like you're floating above moments or life or events, weddings, baby. And we talk about that. Like
Right.
what do you say about that now? I mean, I guess it's because we know we want to be equal. I mean, even.
Mm.
Is that what you feel?
I think so. I think it's about not reacting to your feelings
Right.
and sort of allowing life to have its natural ebb and flow.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
the mere fact that we're not reactionary towards it allows us to have a clear perspective on things.
Right.
And early on in my life, before I had sort of any spirituality or what have you, I felt like I was constantly rejoicing, but mostly in dread and fear.
Right. That it was gonna end.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like time because as you get older, you understand it. I know how long a day is, more or a year. You remember like when you were a kid, it was like it was so long till summer, and then each
Right.
year, or I mean, you start to understand time better, I guess, as you get older, right? And then, but you also understand the ups and downs, like where the joy is going to come again. It's not
Right.
going to be over. It may come in a different form. It may come, and that's where like you and I always sort of practice about getting jobs and stuff. It's like we're going to work. It's
Right.
it's going to come. But
And then even worse, you get the job and then you have to do it.
yeah, right,
Like,
right, right.
I love the announcement.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, deadline.
Yeah, whenever you've got the new job and you can tell people, I mean, and it's not to talk shit about my own industry, but right now we're in sort of the dog days of pilot season in early March, and there's some things that are great and a lot of things that aren't great,
Yeah.
as in any business.
But from doing it long enough, and I did too, it's like there's not one job that's going to catapult us to wherever we think we need to be.
Yeah.
And where the fuck is that anyway? Like, what is that? I mean,
Right.
to me, like, I'm so grateful that I straightened up and I met my wife and I'm having a baby. Not for the obvious reasons, like, everyone say, oh, you should be a father, you'd be so good. But like another TV show, another announcement, like you just said,
Right.
who cares?
Right. Do you find that like you saw that before you sort of had this moment of clarity and this decision to sort of change the way your life was going, that the 10 years preceding that were sort of a slow build to this sort of tipping point where you just said, all right, I need to switch things up. The way I've been doing it hasn't been working anymore.
It wasn't that clear. And it was also like, I was driving under the influence like a
Right.
fucking idiot. So, it was about like, I would be clear for moments, months,
Right.
then I wouldn't be. It was like just sort of, when you're doing great, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this up. It's too
Right.
easy. My life has been charmed. I mean, it has been a fairy tale, and I don't even know how I got through to this day because it's just been perfect. I mean, I've had divorce and death and all the things that everybody has that, but so I got to a place where I just thought everything was going to be great because it was, and I didn't have the tent poles of most adults, money or thing, and I thought I was young and hip. So it was. I didn't have to give everything. I didn't have to give 100% to anything. I thought.
Right.
I go. I 60% is better than all these guys. 50,
Right.
Why come on? It takes so much energy to give 100%. Fuck that. And that's how I lived my life for a long time. And clearly, it didn't get me to where I wanted to be. Or where I thought I wanted to be. And that's why, like this relationship and being clear, I went into it like I'm going to give 100%.
Right.
which I don't think I've done in, 10, 15, 20 years, right? I'm going to give 100%. If it doesn't work out, at least I know how to give 100%. And if it does, look where I am, and it did.
And what's
Are we bouncing around all over the place?
No, this is
'Cause
great.
I was thinking about death too. It's like during that time, this just to bring it back, we started about
Please.
death was that I don't know how you felt during those dark years, but I didn't want to kill myself. I didn't think of suicide, but I always said, if I die tomorrow, it's okay. I did everything. I've done everything.
Right.
Right. I haven't had a kid, but that's okay. I'm too old, and but it's such bullshit. I had a list when I was a kid. And I made it, and I've scratched off everything on that list.
Sure. Well, it's
Bullshit.
yeah. I mean, it's the selfishness of it all. It's the inherent selfishness of like, who else am I hurting but me? And
Yeah, you don't think about that.
no, and it's the romanticism of like, I always projected. I just imagined that life was a certain way, and it was hard charging, and that it was incumbent on me to wrestle goodness out of life. So I had to go get money and prestige and romance and just at any cost. And as long as I filled up that bottomless pit enough, inevitably, finally, I would be delivered.
Yeah.
I would hit that finish line and something about it would finally correct whatever was going on inside of me.
Right. Didn't though, did it?
It never does.
But it just takes years and years, and if you're lucky enough to survive it all, then you start to get it.
Right.
I mean, that's my thing. It's like, that saying was like, I wish I knew then what I know now, and
Right.
I really do. I mean, I look at these, I look at myself in my early 20s, and I had the right look and the right thing, but I was stupid. And you see some of these kids that are smart, that like these younger actors that are like I don't know how you were, but God, they're so much more sophisticated, and they're reading, and they know politics, and they know how to deal with the press. But I didn't have any of that,
Oh, I can't believe it.
Seriously?
Like sometimes I'll be like, I remember looking on the internet the other day, and they're like, Miley Cyrus is 24. I was like, what?
Right.
I was like, no.
Right.
It can't be.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, well, good for them. And that's why some of these people are superstars. And they're true to, I just never, I always was I think for my dad, and for better or worse, it was always like, don't ever let them know who you are. Put on a show. Be a coxman.
Sure.
Be this guy. Be Dean Martin. Blah blah.
Right.
And don't get real, and don't. So I was always trying to put on something that I thought people wanted to hear, a certain, what I mean, like attitude or like whatever cool little
persona.
saying that you heard, and I'm going to do this. I'm not. Though that's crap. And then you. But you see some of these people, like Miley Cyrus, for instance. I mean, she is true to who she is. And when it first came out, I was like, oh, boy, here comes a Disney train wreck, And she stayed with it, and she didn't back down. And now she's, has real respect, and she's super talented and has created a whole place for herself, right?
Right.
But it's scary. It's fucking scary to do that. And I probably didn't even have it, like some of these. Look at this new kid, the kid on... Call Me by Your Name.
Timothy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, gee, where does a guy get like that?
Crushing it.
I mean, he's the next DiCaprio or something. And DiCaprio at that. I wasn't any of that. I remember doing, I just went on the cheesier side of stuff. I remember I was on General Hospital, and I was doing, we paid like $400 or $500. I got like $400 an episode or something.
Right.
So there's no dough. So the way to make money was you went out and did these car shows and these things.
We've all been there.
Right? And it's,
Right.
$10,000 cash, and
Yeah.
I would bring a whole thing of cash like that, and I still lived at my dad's house, and I'd come home and he'd say, and he was great at keeping me home. He'd say, go out and clean the dog shit back there. I said, fuck you. Just $10,000. You clean the dog shit,
Right.
I still cleaned it, but
Solid.
But I remmer doing one of those car shows, and I looked over, they would do me and 12 Playmates, or me and another actor, and the other actor was Johnny Depp, and he had holy jeans and this hat. And he was Johnny Depp.
Sure.
I was like, look at that bum. I'm wearing a members only jacket.
Yeah.
But
very suave.
right. But I didn't have that like those younger guys did.
I did one of those autograph shows, and I was literally sitting next to Lou Ferrigno.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, all right.
He couldn't hear you though.
Well, no. Well, that was nice. I mean, it's funny what we have to do. I mean, there is, and it's not even, you can't call it the underbelly of these things, but, you know, especially early on, there are these money grabs that we all do on some
They're
level.
here now, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, these shitty
Podcast.
commercials, podcasts.
Do what you got to do
You do
to
what you
get
got
by.
to do, and you know, is it that place where it's not going to hurt you anymore? You know, it's a different world, or does it hurt? You know, I mean, I'm debating whether to go back and do some episodes of Fuller House for the 4th season.
Right.
You know, and you say, well, it doesn't hurt. It's you know, not maybe won't help, but it's not going to hurt. Well, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows if yogurt commercials? I made $5 million or whatever, but I mean, you know, I go into meetings sometimes. They'll go, "Hey, yogurt boy." I say,
Totally.
fuck off.
And you'll never know. Like
Right.
I mean, I remember when I started doing Vine, and that was like, it had a moment, whatever it was, and then a sad, sad death. But I remember my agent and manager calling me and saying, you know, we've tailored you as this, you know, you've come off this big Nickelodeon show and you were the kid star guy and the funny chubby guy. And now you want to be the leading man. And I'd done some cool independent movies. But now you're being kind of a goofy schmuck in your car.
Right.
And is this the image you want to project? And inevitably, I felt as though, listen, I don't know what this is, but I know that people like it, and I'm affecting hundreds of thousands of people who are watching this every day. So I'm going to continue to do that. And also, I felt as though, you know, I could easily do a bad horror movie to pay the bills.
Right.
But this opened sort of a revenue stream working with brands and whatnot that afforded me the opportunity to create my own content and still do it. But inevitably, did that fuck shit up for me in the way that I'm perceived? I don't know. Maybe, probably a little bit, but
Yeah, but if you have your eye on the ball and you know where you want to get to or what the kind of work you want to do, you'll get it, and I'll
Right.
get it. I mean, you know, we're just one meeting or audition or offer away from being in Get Out or you know, something.
the right thing.
Right. I remember I was doing a play on Broadway with James Earl Jones, and it was about as good as it gets. He's the greatest actor probably alive.
What was the play?
It was called The Best Man.
Okay.
It was a Gore Vidal political, you know, 3 hour. It was long and wordy and an accent, and I was killing it.
Right.
And during the, you know, I was there for like 6 months, but twice a month during that time, I was going peddling yogurt, you know, during the day.
Right.
Didn't matter. I still got on stage with James Earl Jones that night, you know.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
What?
John.
Going back to the, so I don't
People
forget.
want to hear career stuff.
Well,
I mean,
I'm
not
interested.
Mine, maybe yours. But.
Well, what I'm interested in is, because you mentioned it, like what, is there a part of you that feels like you've had to project an image and continue it? Like how much do you think you talked about like with your growing up and your dad told you not to sort of show your hand and do you think that was inherently you or just becoming famous so fast and having a part of it be your look and the way you were perceived that you just felt the pressure to continue that image for the last 3 decades?
Well, it's a long time, so it's a lot of different things. I mean, I look at my nephew, who's a really cool kid, not super sophisticated. He's a great drummer, and I was probably like that. I didn't grow up in a home with politics or literature, or not to say it was, but it was a whole lot of love that I had, and it's taking me, time to go back. I've always had an issue with feeling not smart enough and not intelligent, not well read, not up on world,
Where do you think that started?
Well, I had some relationships, I had one in particular where she just said, "You're stupid. You're not smart enough for me."
Oof.
And I'll never forget it,
Yeah, we all have that.
Yeah. So I worked on it. I mean, I tried to open my mind and learn more and be, and I feel much more confident in that area now, but it's also like, fuck it, But my point to all that was, so it was that, and it was also, there was a time, and not too long ago, where I felt I had to keep up this guy, this, and you turn on Howard, you were talking about Stern or Kimmel or whatever, and they talk about this guy that they live vicariously through, right?
Yeah, Step Brothers.
Was that
the only guy that they would sleep with?
Right.
Yeah.
All that stuff's weird too.
Yeah, trippy.
I mean, we could talk about that, but
Yeah, the guy that they're the image of
And
who
I
you are.
and I was like, well, I gotta keep that up because I can't disappoint these people. And it wasn't just them. In the advent of social media, you get all these guys and things. Oh, you're the cool, you're this. I wish and it was all bullshit because I rarely. It wasn't like I had 8,000 women like people thought, or I was living this life. I was just as fucked up and insecure and um, lonely as anybody.
Sure.
But I felt like I had to keep this guy at whatever cost. And in keeping that guy up, you push away the great people that could be coming around,
Right. I mean, I've seen you take charge of a room, and it's one of your great talents and abilities. And sometimes I think when people say, like, oh, why can't you just be comfortable sort of fading
Right.
into the periphery and whatnot? And yet that's so. I find, like, for me, it's something that I love cultivating is the ability in which to turn it on when necessary.
Right.
And I guess it's just, vacillating between the two, finding the moments where you can sort of entertain and take over the room and then also just be a participant.
Yeah, but that's different than having to be the Lothario for people or be
Right.
something that people need me to be for them,
Right.
while sacrificing what I need for me. But the room part, yeah, I mean, I have this great shrink, and I don't go enough, but he's sort of just an older, great guy who says, like, if you weren't such an asshole,
Right.
But he would say, like, stop trying to seduce the world. You did that in the 90s. You're fine. Stop
Right.
it. Just sit back. But it's so hard. It's so hard as a human. It's so hard as an actor. I was just doing this series called You, a Greg Berlanti show, and I decided I want to be like super still. And I played this shrink who was smoking pot, and he's just kind of an introspective guy. And I just said, don't move, don't even, just be this,
Right.
And I did it, but it was so hard. I go, cut. I was like, did I do enough? Was it okay? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just trust. Look, it's just trusting. It's trusting yourself,
But
trusting that you're enough who you are. You don't have to put on shit for people, because people that want something that you're not, you don't want them. Fuck them.
Well, no, it makes sense. I mean, I walk that weird line of, especially if I'll have people come up to me and whatnot, and the majority of people that come up to me are from Drake and Josh, and so they're expecting a certain energy and a certain
right.
projection of who they grew up loving, and
Right.
and I can feel myself when I don't deliver on that,
Right.
and I feel disappointed, and yet I feel completely within my right to just be nice and respectful and kind of keep on with my day.
You always are, and you give them.
Yeah.
I
But
think that's a different area.
They
I mean,
want the shtick.
Some people can't. They don't have it. They
Right.
don't have the energy for it. I think I have enough. I think you have enough.
You balance
And
it.
I think you learn as time goes by to give them everything they want, but in 15 seconds.
Right.
That's Clooney is the king of that, right?
The hit
One
and
of-
run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the first times I knew him a little bit over the years, and I don't know him well, but and he'll I remember we were in a room of a lot of important people, and I was there, and at the top of his lungs he goes, here he is, the most handsome man in the room, right? And it was 10 seconds, but he walked away, and I felt great, and I thought he was the greatest.
Oh
and,
yeah. Didn't Obama do that too?
Yeah, what? Oh, yeah.
Like I think you mentioned, because you were there at the White House for what, the Greek Independence
Yeah,
Day
sort
or
of the
something,
Greek Independence
and
Day thing.
I'm telling your story, but that he saw you and sort of said, well, there he is, the best looking Greek man
Yeah,
in
right.
all of America.
Right.
I'm like,
You're gonna piss off Zach Galifianakis. Now be careful. Yeah, that's sort of it. But I talked to him for a little while. We had a conversation. But
Right.
like a Clooney or something can blast in and but it's okay to as long as it's not sacrificing you. It's okay
Right.
to give a little to the people that love you, right?
Today's podcast is brought to you by Stamps.com. Oh my gosh, Stamps.com. Yes. I mean, we can get everything on demand in this world, right? Your television, your movies, your food. But what about postage? Yes. Stamps.com. Buy and print real U.S. postage for any letter or any package. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, just click it, print it, mail it. Why not? I love mailing things. I don't know about you, but I feel like a real feeling of completion. When I've done it, I've got my package, beautiful postage, done, put it in, gone. Now you take it. Wonderful postage system that just seems to always work. It always works. Bless it. But seriously, I love it. I use it all the time, sending letters, packages, what have you. I do a lot of online ordering and I do a lot of online returning. You can imagine. Anyway, I'm a big fan. I think you should be too. Right now, use Curious for this special offer. A 4-week trial includes postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Curious. That's stamps.com. Enter Curious.
So going back to what you said about before about this new part that you have and wanting to be still, and I'm so interested, like what?
You have the same thing I do. We don't trust we think we have to do something, with a voice, or we have to do a thing, or, I'm not
Well, for
critiquing
me,
you, but I'm me. Like
you're
you
so
feel
right.
like you gotta, and just to sit there, because also we weren't given I was on Full House or whatever, and you're on Drake. I mean, it's not no offense, but it's not Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So you had to do stuff with those jokes and those sentences and those storylines where great writing, you just can sit and talk. Because people
Totally.
right?
Well, the medium requires you to be bigger than life, just with the 4-camera aspect. And also, coming from the kid star thing, as a kid, you're so indoctrinated with the idea of over-delivering. And like trying, and I find that now, and still things that I work on in acting class and whatnot, is this whole idea of like, I don't know who I'm trying to please.
Right.
And it's probably the dad I never met, but like, don't leave me.
Or I'm right here.
But it's like, that's it is, I find myself, there's a pushing aspect. It's a tension.
Right.
Because I'm trying to overdo, I'm trying to over deliver.
That's what you felt like. I gotta be Judy Garland and put on a thing to
over
have people
deliver.
like,
Yeah. And put on a whole shtick. And you've always said that to me from the beginning of like growing into yourself as a man and feeling confident in your abilities and yet not feeling the need to project a certain image of who you used to be.
But it's a fine line. It's just you have to be deft with it, right?
Right.
It's not easy, especially for us that created this thing. I look back and go, God, if I knew that Full House at the end of the day was going to be my thing, they recognized,
Sure.
And both of us are beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go, God, I wish I was beloved for something else, something better, And if I knew that now, could I have changed it, or at the very least, came up with a better haircut or better clothes, or whatever,
not been 300 pounds? Oh wait, that's me.
Yeah.
It's a difficult balance. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny when people come up to me now at 31 and I've lost weight and been this way for 14 years, and people go, wow, you look great. Congrats on the weight
Thank
loss.
you.
Like, it's only been 14 years.
I was shocked at your popularity. And I don't mean that in a,
No, of course.
And you have it. And, we'll be out with Bob and Dave, and they'll knock them over. Or me, they'll knock us over to get to you,
No,
It's pretty cool. But then do you go like, well, what do I do with this? And how do, I think that could be in the back of your mind. Like, this is my base, like, Trump.
Right.
I got to play to my base. And,
Right.
some way back, that's where you launch into a little bit of Drake and Josh guy, right?
Well, we did something special because, and I think the correlation between Drake and Josh and Full House was that it was about family.
Right.
Like any of the great Norman Lear shows and what have you of the last couple of decades, there's like this through line because it's so damn relatable.
Right.
And it was funny, and we were going in people's houses once a week, and now in reruns at infinitum. So I think when people see us, they see us just in a certain way of the way that they grew up with us.
Right.
And I do these college shows now, and I'll talk for an hour, and I'll do bits and a Q&A and whatnot. And what I always try to do is I try to
give
direct.
them a catch line.
I give them the catch line. You have to,
brother.
You got to give the people what they want, otherwise they fucking beat me up. But
Sorry.
no, but it's interesting because I always try to sort of direct around the Drake and Josh of it all, and I'll start with a little bit, and then I'll go to some other places and give them stories about Red Dawn or social media or the whackness or what have you, and then I'll go back to a little Drake and Josh, and I'll end with a little because I want to say, I know what you think you want,
Right.
which is 1 hour of me reciting dialogue from the show.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, you don't.
Yeah, right.
Because I've had those scenarios where I've literally, it's been 20 questions of Drake and Josh in a row and do this line, do that. And you can feel the audience grow tired of it.
Right. It's cheap. But you're good to, you appreciate the people.
Of course.
So good.
And
but it's
and you.
again, it goes back to everything. It's just balance. It's like, because sometimes when you let some of that shit go, and when you don't do what you think they want,
Right.
they want you more.
What do you think, going back to what you were saying about
Are people, what do you think people are getting out of, I mean, we're having an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think are people tuning in and say, well, let's see Jesse and Drake, Josh, talk
Right.
about show business, or what do you think? I mean, does it, then I'm going against what I just said, was like worrying about what people think, but
Right.
Do you think actors are listening to this, or people that,
I think it'll find, look, my world is with actors and creatives, and it's something that I'm incredibly fascinated with. So I don't think it will be only directed in that way, but I think it will be a big part of what this podcast is.
Because it's interesting to listen to people that you may have seen on TV, or that are successful doing something you may want to do,
Right.
but then just hear the real side of them, right?
I think so. And I also knew that with this new sort of thing that I'm trying, it's like I've for so long been worried about appeasing the audience and making things that they wanted, and sometimes with great return and sometimes not. Yeah. And I figured that whatever this was going to be, that for my soul, it had to be something that I was deeply interested in. And then
Is this it, sort of what we're doing?
Yeah, because I just want to know. I'm just curious. I like to know about what's really going on. And I feel like most people, you've done thousands of interviews and you'll do 1,000 and they'll check the boxes and what was it like? And you've been on Broadway.
Yeah, the problem is you go right to your pat shit,
Yeah, it's the same
what
shtick.
people want to hear, and you're like, Then you see it, if you even watch it, or you read it, and you go, oh, what am I saying?
Mel Brooks talked about how it's got to be funny to you, otherwise you're screwed. And so with this, I had to take the leap that if I'm interested in this, others will be too.
But what is difficult in these things, and maybe it goes back to my dad saying, like, don't get too personal, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics.
Sure.
Is that if you don't, you're not that interesting.
Right.
But then if you do spew out some of your, and I just don't have the what's the word I'm looking for? The constitution to talk about Trump right now. I don't want the backlash. I don't want Twitter.
Same here.
And I go right down the middle. And sometimes it makes me fucking crazy that I can't, really express my feelings. But I know what the backlash is like. I mean, I put a picture of me and Obama up, and you get hate. They're
crushed.
Calling me, yeah. And I don't need it. It doesn't faze me. And every once in a while, and it's rare. And I'm not saying this, but like I'll see something shitty or bad. It doesn't faze me. But it is a fine balance. Again, being interesting is sort of being super honest, and sometimes,
right.
And I came from a place, I don't know about you, but we weren't supposed to be honest. We were supposed to come on a talk show and have bits and jokes and things, and that's it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's interesting sometimes in acting class where we'll be doing certain TV or what have you, and my teacher talks a lot about the least common denominator choice. And so especially in the TV medium of things, if you do a joke and maybe the direction is sarcastic or whatever, so you hit that rhythm that we've all heard before, well, I guess I'm going to have to do it like this. And and she'll say, we're so indoctrinated with bad television over the last 40 years that we think that this is what's required.
Right.
But the medium has changed, and the things that people are attracted to are the Modern Families and the FX shows and all these different comedies that are more biting than ever and more truthful than ever. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do think sometimes, like to your point of the way I'm built I'd be thriving in the 70s, like my type of comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because
Jackie Gleason.
I love being big and sticky and hammy and,
That's the way I like it, big and sticky and hammy.
Thank you. What do you?
Well, there is a world for that somewhere, I think, at places. I don't know.
What's good acting to you?
It's tricky. I don't watch any TV shows.
Why?
And I used to always I got to come up with some shows that I watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm in television my whole life, and maybe I should. I don't get that. I can't watch TV or movies without trying to figure everything out and how they shot that, and it was cold that day, and he didn't match this, and
Right.
how hard that would be out in the fucking desert, and I can't ever turn that off, and that's terrible because but
It's hard for you to enjoy it.
it's all the stars have to line up. It had to line up with what we did, with the TV shows, and then if we get the right part with the right director and the right, moment in time with the Get Out or whatever,
Right.
then because you'll see a great fucking actor, and I won't name names,
But we all know who they are.
and then you'll see them in something else, and they're horrible, or
Right.
vice versa. Usually you'll see like, oh my god.
Yeah, we can all fall victim to that.
Yeah, but and you're finding too, like, there's a lot of newer, fresh people that are getting hired all the time because if you're in the right environment, right, the right script, the right lighting, the right director, the right editing,
Right.
you could be great. I don't know. It's always baffling to me how to do it. Sometimes I think I get it, and sometimes I don't at all.
I heard Sharon Stone on Maron, and they were talking about her working with Albert Brooks in The Muse, and Maron goes, "Yeah, you were so funny in that," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm funny when Albert Brooks directs me.
Right.
Like with the right director, I'm funny, and like with the right director, I'm really a great dramatic actress."
During one of my dark moments,
Yes.
this just popped into my head because of what you said, and I had lunch with this guy the other day who fixed me up. He was setting me up on a date with Sharon Stone.
Great.
And I saw him the other day, and I said, well, yeah. And I was drunk in the afternoon. I was having a little day drinking, and I didn't show up.
No.
She was so bad.
Did you fall asleep?
I think so, yeah. But I knew not to get in the car.
Smart.
And I knew not to show myself.
What were you drinking?
The what?
Mimosas?
No.
Vodka soda. Warm vodka out of a plastic bottle.
It was during that that super spinning time when you go like, well, I got a divorce, my dad died, so I can act like a fucking
Yeah, of course.
But I didn't show, and she's not spoken to me since.
Jeez.
And I tried to tell her, I said, look, you didn't, So I don't know what that date would have been like. But
I find the stories are best when you've rejected the person. Like I turned down Tom Cruise for ice cream once, and I'm glad I didn't say yes.
Is ice cream code for a blowjob?
No, it's actually ice cream. I've told you this story.
I think tell the folks at home.
I was shooting a movie called Red Dawn that he produced, and so it was 2 weeks before, and we were working on the script. And Tom Cruise, being the brilliant guy he is, said, this is an action movie. We probably need some moments of levity because it's all, shoot 'em up and whatnot. And so I pitched this joke, and it goes over great. And he gives me the Tom Cruise beaming movie star smile. He literally guffaws, John. And I'm like, I just made Tom Cruise laugh. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Right. And so I'm driving back to my my hotel in Troy, Michigan, and I think I made Tom Cruise laugh. I deserve an ice cream. So I drive to the Dairy Queen, and like any self-respecting fat guy, I'm eating ice cream alone in my car because I don't eat ice cream with people.
Is he there?
So I'm eating in my car alone, and I see this SUV whip into the parking lot, and I hear, and I look out my window, and I roll it down, and it's Tom Cruise.
That fucker was following you.
Yeah.
Seriously?
And he looks at me and goes,
you can't
he's like,
eat ice cream alone.
He's like, what are you doing? He's like, are you eating ice cream alone in your car? And I was like, yeah, pretty much, Tom Cruise. Yeah. And he's like, well, do you want to come inside with me and my family? Like, he had his kids and his sister. He's like, so lovely. And I was like, no, I'm going to pass. I'm going to take a pass.
Why? Because you thought you
can't have two ice creams?
No, but did you think you were going to disappoint him?
Of course, it was all about me.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've blown a lot of those things. But when I force myself to have ice cream with Tom Cruise, let's call it that, or force myself to go to dinner with someone that I'm super intimidated by,
right?
It's great. I mean,
on
the other side, no, but I mean, and it's that thing. It's like what sort of the theme of this podcast, I think, is just like not trying so hard. Like you don't have to. You got I think what happens is if they don't have it naturally to go like, here I am, then they make it up. It just gets complicated. I found being clear and confident, and not fake confidence, not over, like blown out. I know who I am, and it's okay. But you walk into a room like that, and people just gravitate. You see it with me.
Right.
You see it with you. Like you just come in and you go, here I am, motherfucker. And we've been in rooms with Tom Hanks to whoever.
Oh yeah.
And you go, here I am.
It's
Right?
you have an incredible stable of famous friends, and it's no bullshit, like, because you are beloved. But for me, the time that I was most impressed was when Hanks was in the room, because it just, I mean, he's the hero. He's the goal, the legend.
But he is, the greatest like that, right? I mean,
Right.
but
Everything I could have asked for.
yeah, he delivers. And
Yeah.
but what's interesting about him, and there's nothing ill intentioned about it, but he's a genius. I mean, he's a
Right.
genius level, and that's the thing that I think ultimately, if I never become a great actor, it's because I'm not as smart as these guys. These guys, you've met guys and gals that are great actors. They're so fucking smart. You're
Right.
smart. I've never seen a great, brilliant actor that wasn't intelligent.
I think that's right.
High intelligent. I mean, you're talking about Step Brothers. Have you ever been around John C. Reilly? I mean, that there's
Brilliant.
and you got brilliant. But Tom, what he'll do is, and he has a photographic memory, by the way. He'll read a book.
But is he happy?
Yes.
I can't believe that.
I mean, I think he is.
Just
I
add
bet
that
you-
to the mix. 2 Oscars, photographic memory.
Yeah, but he's found a way to say what he wants to say about politics and religion
Right.
and people and stuff. But he'll go to each person and this is what you can't get caught up in too much, but maybe you felt this. He'll go, "Hey, Josh, how are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Oh, did you ever?" And he'll sort
He's
of
a politician.
but he is genuinely interested, and he's learning. He's sucking shit out of your brain,
Right.
and he'll put it somewhere. And when he's done, when you run out of interesting stuff that he can't, that he can use, if you don't have what he can use, he's on to the next person.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean that in a maybe I'm totally full of shit. He could be listening and going like, "What is he saying?"
No, I know what you mean.
But
Look, people like that who have come into contact with so many people on a daily basis,
Right.
they have to be careful of their time and how
For
much time
sure.
spent. And I totally, because in that respect, my experience was totally to what you're saying, where I felt like we had that dynamic. But when he left, I felt refreshed and almost like, thank God he's gone, so I don't have to continue to be
a lot of-
interesting.
yeah.
Because it's
But
a
I mean,
lot of pressure.
That's the goal. None of we probably won't be Tom Hanks, but that's the goal. Just as a human, to encounter someone, and when you leave, they're not depleted; they're built up,
Right.
and not in a phony way, and not bullshitty, fake compliment stuff, but
But do you find like,
energy wise, right?
well, in my experience, it's always, I've had the best experience with the people that are of that echelon. The Hanks, the
right.
Will Smiths,
Yeah.
the true legends.
Because it goes back to confidence, right?
But it's the people I find that when I do run into issues or I don't like someone, I find they're sort of in the middle. They've had a bit of fame, a little success, but they're very
And
unsure
it's
of themselves.
insecurity, and it's and a fear of just being who they are,
Right.
which again is another theme to this podcast.
Exactly. Audible. Audible. What is there to say? I'll tell you what, a lot. Why? Because Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet. Humble brag. And if you love podcasts like me, you're going to love audiobooks. I mean, recently I listened to Hatching Twitter by Nick Bilton on Audible and just loved it. It's the story of Twitter and how it came to be. It's like a social network, but sort of Twitterfied. And interesting fact, Twitter originally was a podcast company that failed, and then they built a billion-dollar social media empire out of it. So if this podcast doesn't work out, well, there's hope. Anyway, guys, this is really exciting. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audible.com/Peck. That's audible.com/PECK and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audible.com/Peck or text Peck to 500-500 to get started today.
Oh, Josh,
What was it, girl?
I love you.
I love you.
I really do. Look how you changed my life.
Look how you changed mine.
How? Podcast time?
Are you kidding me?
I mean, and that's the thing. You can never take away what you could what your value to someone is in the world, even the world. I mean, yours was sort of black and white the way you helped me, but since I have gotten my life together, and it's just abundant in the sense of a wife and a kid coming, and the way I look at life now. How many people have I influenced with that energy? Hopefully, a bunch. But from you, it started. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you can never, people out there listening, like you never underestimate a smile or a handshake or, I don't do it on purpose, but I'll spend more time talking to those guys, out there, the gardener right now, or those guys we just took a picture of in front of my house.
Right.
I think it was from my dad. He was always good to to the bus boys, and because my dad owned restaurants,
And you worked in the restaurant.
yeah,
And also, I found for me, I mean, we all grow up with this idea that to be, fame, celebrities and athletes in our society are aristocrats, right? They're the aristocracy. They are the
That's what
kings
people
and queens.
think.
Yeah, and we grow up thinking like, if only I was at a party with these people, if only I was accepted by this, level of person, I would be delivered and be the person. But inevitably, I get so much more, and I've only had a taste of it where you've been truly, in it for years. But I found that the few times that I've had a taste of it, it's been fun, and I've been able to accrue some stories to tell my friends. But it's never the same as me sitting with my childhood friends, chopping it up on a Thursday night at a shitty Italian restaurant, shooting the shit, hearing about my friend's kids or something funny that happened at his trucking company, or my other buddy who works for UPS. Like, I love it. I mean, I just love the real shit. And I see this in you too. I love characters.
Yeah.
I love people with strong personalities. And I find that there are so many actors who they become obsessed because they start stealing. Little aspects. Ooh, I love the way that guy walks, or that twitch, or that. What do you think?
What do you in that area of well, I mean, it kind of goes off, but like I was just thinking about, and you're the king of social media and stuff like. When I started to versus, to where you sort of became, maybe after, when the social media came on, it's like,
Sure.
It's a whole different thing, right?
Right.
Meaning, like, I think what I thought of this was you were talking about how people perceive us as kings and queens and all that.
Right.
But, with the advent of social media and everybody showing pictures of them at the home or eating or going to the bathroom, or whatever,
So accessible.
we're so accessible. But also, I think it's good because I think they go like, oh, he's human. He's like us, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I can't tell. I find that I'm like, sometimes, and this is just when I decide to read my comments, where I just go, I'm too fucking accessible. Because it's so easy to, that is my qualm with social media.
But that's the fine line because, again, you want to be interesting, you want to be yourself, but, you have to, you have to watch, what you do.
Well, that's my sort of qualm with social media, is that we're so reactionary, be it to the people that are interacting with you, to politics. I mean, everyone has a voice, and no one has a moment to gestate on an idea or to restrain, a bit of restraint.
There's so much Second Amendment talk, and the libs, they'll go like, well, when the Constitution was, it was about a mullet. I mean, a mullet. A gun with a
musket.
Musket, sorry.
Mullet was you. In the 80s.
Thanks. But the First Amendment, freedom. There was no Twitter back then either.
Right.
So sometimes I mean, it's too late now. The cat's out of the bag. But there's a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of too much, I think. And sometimes I feel like I don't need to throw my hat in this,
I don't mean to, I might be misquoting him, but I think Tom Hanks had a quote about TMZ and those types of guys saying, 15 years ago, we didn't have to talk to you guys.
Right.
Because they'd just be outside with a camera and they'd take their picture and go away. But now it's like they want that sound bite. They're willing to sort of agitate you and sort of get under your skin to get some sort of reaction. And
it depends on that. I think, because I just got hit at the
supermarket?
the thing up there, the restaurant. They don't taunt me. Like, they taunt Alec Baldwin because they know because his thing, But I don't get that. I don't think taunt. But yeah, it's up. Look, it's all. But these are like rich,
rich
spoiled
people
white
problems.
people. You're like, who wants to hear this? I mean, but
what was growing up in Orange County like?
It was. from what I remember, and I'm very good at archive. Like I have old pictures and I've digitized everything and old videos and I take a lot of movies and now I realize I got it from my mom because I knew she had a lot of stuff, but when she died, I've just been still clearing her house out of pictures. And sometimes you go back and go, it wasn't so great, but it was. It was.
Yeah,
My
picturesque.
dad was that moment when everybody, goes, oh, my dad's just a man. He's not.
Right.
I never got to that point.
Wow.
He was always, a hero. It was my
Why?
dad, but he was just you felt safe with them, and he was disciplined. That's what it was. Like there's a guy who was disciplined, and when my life went to shit or was on its way, that's what I lost. Discipline, and you start to push the line a little further, like what you'll do, well, we're going a little
Sure.
further, and pretty soon you're like, oh my God. I mean, I remember I used to be, I didn't even want to masturbate because my grandmother in heaven might be watching or something,
Really?
Yeah,
How long did you hold off?
it's till today.
Really?
Yeah, no. You were talking, growing up in Orange County. So it was really beautiful, and that's when I've fucked up over the years of my life. I'm like, I don't have an excuse. A lot of people come from a rough,
Sure.
upbringing and one parent or no parent or, schools or bad, no opportunity. I had it all. So if I don't take advantage of all of it, then fuck me.
What was it like? Because now we sort of look at Orange County and me being from LA as right
Republican.
wing,
Yeah.
conservative, white.
Again, like
Did it feel like that growing up? Or that's all you knew?
I was we weren't. There wasn't a lot of political talk in the house. My dad read the paper every morning, but it wasn't. So I didn't know the difference between Democrats and Republicans. But I mean, I guess it was a Republican vibe there, but it didn't have an effect on me, I guess.
Were you?
But there is a sense of of protection and safety, and I see my sisters doing it with their kids, which is great. But they're also like, here comes the world, folks,
Right.
and that's, I'm doing a show on Amazon about that period of when I went on General Hospital, and I grew up. I lived at home, and I worked at my dad's restaurant, and I wanted to be an actor, and I studied and.
Had you done school plays or
I'd
anything
done
like that?
a little. I couldn't sing, and it was always musicals, in school plays. But
Right.
but I did a little, and I started. I got an agent, but it was look. If I could teach my kid anything, it's like don't put any boundaries or excuses and then I never did. It was like, how do you become an actor? Get an agent. Okay, I'm gonna get an agent. It wasn't like, oh, I can't get an agent because
Right.
And my parents were supportive, but anyway, during that time, I had a couple things going on, but I had this fearless thing about me,
Yeah.
that I'm trying to get back every day, and sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't.
But I think that's inherent to being a kid, no?
Yeah, but I got a lot maybe a lot from my parents. Like you could do anything, go do it.
Right.
Until the real world comes in and says you can't. And I did it. I was like, so I was 18. I had slept with one girl. I think it was I hit a base somewhere, but
Give us a play-by-play.
well, my first time was an older woman. And
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Same one, do you think?
was, Monica?
No.
She was 35.
I was, and I remember thinking, is this what the whole world revolves around?
Really?
It hurt.
It hurt.
It was,
Did she take advantage of you?
Yes. How did you feel?
I
How was
just
it with
remember
you?
her looking at me because I had been having sex for so long alone up to that point, and I couldn't believe that there was another person there to join me.
Yeah, like, what are you doing here? But, I had that experience, and then I auditioned for General Hospital like on a Monday. I shot the first episode Wednesday, and it aired a week later.
Wait,
Now,
so you knew that you booked it within a day?
yeah, I think I got it that day. That it was one audition, and it was supposed to because it was like a 5 and under. It was like there was a couple
Sure.
guys on a dock, Blackie and there was two other guys, and one was Brian Robbins played one of the guys.
No
and then
way.
there was some blonde guy, and I was supposed to.
He's done all right for
He
himself.
did okay.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. So I was supposed to get killed or something, and and my mom wrote. But I came onto that show with this, unbridled energy and confidence. And I remember one time the camera guys were going, "You got to sit still, kid. We can't we can't follow you."
Right.
But it was like, I don't know what it was. I'm nominated for an Emmy, right? But the thing is, I was this innocent from getting back to, what was growing up like. It was a fantasy, a fairy tale. Everything was like glossy and shiny and Disney. And then I'm thrown into, first of all, a show that 35, 40 million people watched a day, right? And it's 81, and there's sex, there's cocaine, there's fame, this weird soap opera fame.
The Holy Trinity.
Right. And it was Boogie Nights. It's this kid who's thrown into this world. So that's the TV show that we're doing now on Amazon. But, and I just had all the confidence in the world. And I knew I didn't want to be on a soap opera. As popular as I wanted to be on a sitcom. I loved Happy Days. And I loved I loved Gary Marshall shows, That's what I wanted to do. And I never made more than $400 or $500 an episode on that show. And my character exploded. And when I had a 2-year deal, and I said, "I'm leaving." They're like, "You can't leave."
Yeah,
and I never forget, there was a woman named Gloria Monty who was fantastic, who made that show what it is. And she took me out to La Dome, which was not La Dome, the Brown Derby. And it was a thing. And she said, "You're not going to leave, dear." I said, "Well, I think I am, Gloria. You'll never work in this town," that kind of thing. And I remember going home to my dad saying, "She told me I couldn't do this, and I could,
I love it.
Fuck it. He goes,
Balls.
Tell her. Balls. I don't know. Where did I have those balls?
That's young. I did.
Yeah.
I did some shit. I mean, I looked at. I think the president of Paramount, after we did a big Drake and Josh Christmas movie, and the president of Paramount wanted to sit down and talk, and I said, "Well, I would love to talk, but I don't want to do a theatrical Drake and Josh movie right now. I had just done The Whackness, and I was sort of really had my mind set in a particular way, and maybe it was a mistake. But and he said, and I said, so I want to save you the time to say, if this is just about the Drake and Josh theatrical movie and not about,
yeah.
Like,
were you into a couple drinks or?
No. I was, I was sober, but I just said, listen, I'm not here to waste your time.
What did he say?
And he was like, okay, well then let's not meet. Mm-hmm. And I think it wasn't disrespectful at all. It was like, I think I know what you want. Mm-hmm. And
that's good that you got that. I mean, I had the balls, and then, I had a producer throw me up against the wall. I said, "No, you're going to do this." And I remember, again, going home to my dad, like, nobody ever talked to me like that.
Right.
And there was another very big executive at the time, and I was ready to go from Full House. And he said, you're gonna stay and do a couple more. And I said, "No, I'm not." "No, you are." And it was,
wow.
It was that. And but getting back, you see the people that we admire. Probably they're fearless and they stick to who they are. And
did you feel the shift? Did you know the moment where the point of no return?
Of what? Just
you start General Hospital. You're still working at your dad's restaurant, but like you weren't going to be John from Orange County ever again. Yeah. What was that moment?
Well, certainly the girls, that's and I know everybody hates this to hear people go like, I was the ugly duckling. I was a geek in school, but
we all hate that.
But I was. I don't give a shit. I mean, I had a.
I mean, I've got proof.
Right. Well, I do too. I mean, look, I was picked on at school a lot because I had this attitude, like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I had a big nose, too. I fell when I was a kid. This is what I think, anyway. I was going down some stairs, and I fell. I was, like, 3 years old, and because I have this scar on my nose, and it was, as I grew, my nose got bulb, And I got a nose job. Wow, this is the scoop. Here
wow.
And we're putting this in the show. I got a nose job after about a year into General Hospital. I was watching, maybe less. There was a holiday of Thanksgiving or something, and I had 2 or 3 weeks off, and I went and got my nose done. Like,
really?
Yeah, because I had this big bump, And I'll never forget. I thought I was being, nobody, and they're like, "Hey,
good
how was vacation?" But
yeah, it was good housekeeping.
It was. Oh yeah, I mean. It was just something that bothered, But anyway, so I dealt with that, and I was confident in everybody. Kids were fucking terrible. They were hard. They're harsh, and especially just for being what you think you are or think you want to be. I get why kids are getting so fucked these days.
Right.
And this guy was this guy, this all of a sudden, like it did change, and it was before I became famous, but like all of a sudden, girls, wanted it, and there was this most beautiful girl named Sandra Cobb, and she went to a Catholic school or something, but a friend of mine said, "Oh, Sandra Cobb wants to go on a date with you," and I was like, "Oh yeah." So I'm at a there was like a couple parties in a neighborhood. I'm at a party, and I'm telling her, "Hey, I'm going out with Sandra." I hadn't even really talked to her yet, didn't plan anything, but I'm telling her, but I'm going on a date with her.
Yeah, Sandra Cobb, name like that.
Right?
Come
and
on.
her boyfriend, this guy Ron Kent, and I'm sitting in a car with some a girl, and he knocks on the window, and I roll the window down, and boom, his fist comes in and plows me right in the fucking eye.
Awesome.
And I was so humiliated, and I was so embarrassed, and I had to go to the school with a black eye, and it was and this was I was a junior, I think, and for the rest of that semester and then the next year he wanted to kill me, and he would write on the mirror, "I'm gonna kill you, big nose."
Who the fuck is this Ron Kent?
Well,
I hope he's
thank
listening.
him. And but at that after school I was like, I'm gonna show him, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to be famous and successful, just to show this Ron Kent, and then it happened, and then it came, and I also remember, like, all right, now I got bodyguards.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and get this guy.
Sure.
Right? And of course I didn't.
Tough guy.
And then I go from that to thank God for Ron Kent, because it gave me that thing, to go out and prove to him and the world that I could, Do you ever have that? Do you ever like? I remember I had a girl I was so in love with. I was like, I'm gonna show her. I'm gonna play with the Beach Boys.
Oh yeah. I mean, I pick up people like that every day.
What?
Any casting director that rejects me, I'm like, oh, she'll
Yeah.
see.
Right. But then does it motivate you to go do? Remember, not casting person, but like, you know what I mean? Did that ever happen, like a girl or?
I don't know about a girl. I mean, it's a good thing about me, which I've only come to embrace later in my life, is that I'm a glutton for punishment in the best ways. Like I constantly want the rug pulled out from under me.
Do you really?
Yeah, I know my limitations, and I know that you can only do so much change at a certain time, but for the most part, yeah, I don't like resting on my laurels. I don't like staying in one way. I don't really have a lane where I think, oh, this is where I'll succeed, and I just know it.
You've had moments of that.
No, for sure. But I love being taken to task and trying new things. And I was working on this scene in class the other day, and I've gotten to this good rhythm with this teacher who takes no
I love it.
No bullshit.
I'm really proud of you. I'm so inspired by you doing that. I wish I could.
Well, I just remember like, and I got and
what
I'm
did
sure.
she say to you? Like, knock that shit. Don't. What do you want?
Oh yeah, she doesn't deal with tension. She doesn't like any tricks, right? And you know this so well, of like anyone who's worked for a while, we all accrue some tricks. Even the greats. I mean, they've got a thing that they do that they get known for. Right. And she won't stand for that.
Good.
And I was winning her over the last year. I felt like myself sort of win her over and lean on my, the things that come inherently to me, and being funny in scenes or silly. And then the other day I put up a scene and I picked it that was just so the opposite of me, and her just say, well, that was just hot trash.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because you were just doing shtick in it?
It wasn't shtick. It was that it's something that wasn't funny, where a really, really damaged guy who was angry and tough and very different than me, and I could continue to pick scenes that were more in my wheelhouse, but where would I grow? What was I going to learn from that?
Good for you.
But
it's scary. Like, it's like, because look, we're always, there's a very few people in this town that are like, I'm good, I could do anything I want. We're all very like, what's next, and where, people might think that you and I get offered shit all the time. We don't.
Right.
And so
more than you.
Well, but I mean, it goes through time, spells,
ebbs and flows.
And then it comes, and you go, well, I gotta give them what they want. This is my, it's all so complicated, people.
So you're gonna be a dad,
right?
What's that like?
I don't know yet.
Scared?
No.
Ready. I'm
Fearless.
scared for you. I'm
Why?
scared for all new dads.
Scared? Why? Because I'm going to drop the kid?
No, because I project. It's all projection. It's all fear for myself.
You would be the greatest.
I don't know that.
Well,
I'm so selfish.
You are?
Oh yeah.
You'll get to a point where you won't. You'll get sick of yourself.
That's true.
because I am sick of myself. Like I can't wait to. I have too much to give anyway. I know this sounds like a line, but it's a sin to not. I got too much. I was blessed with too much. I got to give
Did you,
more.
before you met your beautiful wife, did you have that moment? Because I've had that at certain times where you were like, how many fucking dinners can I go to?
Right.
How many dinners? How many events? How much traveling? Like, because it inevitably, even in the heightened version of what the life you've lived, it becomes Groundhog's Day, right? Like Groundhog Day. Like it becomes like for me, I think how much like I love being unencumbered because I can come do this and I can go work out when I want and I can
Right.
go. But I also think like how many great workout sessions can I have to where eventually I'm like I need some
You're
higher
30. What are
calling.
you? 31.
Yeah,
I'm 54. Like
right,
I don't need any more. I've done everything 8
right.
times. So yeah, for sure. And it does feel like, oh, it might be a sacrifice or whatever. But it's also like someone said to me last night. I went to dinner with a couple people that I was in rehab with, and
Nice.
it was great. And I brought Caitlin and they said, look at you, man. This is what you were crying about that you missed. Because you took a wrong turn. You figured it. You did it. Like you went for it. I guess.
Right.
And I'm not, but I made a conscious decision that this is what I want to have in my life, and I need to. It wasn't like it, of course, madly in love with her, but it wasn't like. It certainly wasn't. It's not fireworks at this point. It's not, and you have to be
Like
able
any
to go.
relationship.
But it was choices.
Right.
It was a choice to find that person and go like, hey, all the bullshit you think you want in a relationship, you don't want that,
Right.
asshole. And then when I realized, oh, well, that's what I'm in right now. I'm in something that I didn't know I needed, and then it was a choice to like go for it. Does it making sense?
Of
Like I
course.
was like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you made a decision to be.
And people go, oh, sure, you're John Stamos. You could, you know what? I didn't have the pick of the litter. I was older, and certainly for many years, people could see a fuzz around me. Like they get close and they go, okay, you know,
Right. Well, not for the right girl, at least. Like, you probably had options, but it wasn't the right person for you.
well.
Yeah,
But I
like,
mean, the right people split. They
yeah.
they could see it.
Yeah, I mean, when I wasn't
Yes.
sober and had my wife met me 5 years prior, yeah,
No
she would have
way.
been running
Same
for the
same
hills.
same with me. But it's a choices. It's choices. You got to make good. You make good choices. If you could look at your life, and I won't, but I look at my life or some friend's life, you know, okay, he got divorced. Okay, he had he cheated on her. Like you could just see the places to do the right thing and do the wrong thing,
Right.
and making the right choices in life, right?
Yeah, you allow a good life to be the result of good living.
Yeah, but it's for me. I could make it more black and white. I could go that choice to get in my car fucked up. That was a bad choice.
Right.
To even let myself get to that place was a bad. It was just a series of bad choices. So I don't know. Like I'm so blessed that if people could sit back and go, yeah, sure, you're that guy, that guy. But I think it could be simpler than people think.
What's the one thing, if you can only impress upon your kid who's coming, one thing, one single thing, what would it be?
Well, I would say respect, but respect yourself with a sense of discipline. Hold yourself up. Like it's people. There's too many. People are getting away with murder these days, and it's because they don't have a. They don't hold themselves accountable for shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's too much, but I would hope that and it's taken me and I'm not even there yet. But it's taken me all these years to live who I am. This is who I am.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
That was it. That's John. John Stamos, my friend. John, my man. We recorded that about 6 weeks before his wonderful wife gave birth. So they have a kid now, and that's awesome. I love that guy. He's a special human, and I feel lucky to be his friend. And thanks, John, for being the first on my podcast. Means a lot. Can't take it back now. People have heard it. That's it. You know what I mean?
even if we have a falling out, you'll always be the first person on my podcast. So deal with it. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Please keep listening. Please subscribe, maybe, if you want, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts. Okay, bye. Enjoy. What are you doing now? Are you driving? Nah. Are you taking a stroll? Having just like a nice reflective moment, walking around, headphones in, just you and your podcast? Maybe that's what I do. Maybe you're working out. I listen to podcasts while I work out. Is that weird? I don't know. We'll talk more about it next time. Thanks, guys.